you've discovered the secret to playing at any casual table of Commander and having no one argue about your deck.
No, you did, and then I stole the idea.
That's so nice of you.
We've talked about this before, that CEDH, as you push closer and closer towards the higher power levels, there's a lot of cards that are just busted and the best cards in the format, so that it actually benefits you as the player to essentially play a clone that can become a copy of someone else's Rhystic Study, because it's almost as if you have two Rhystic Studies in your deck.
Then the next logical step is that, well, if this works with Rhystic Study, what if you just copied everybody's best stuff?
Distraction makers.
So what commander did you go with?
Initially, I was going to go with Riku, the Two Reflections.
Okay.
So Riku is 2 and a teamer, and he has...
2 and a teamer?
Yeah, 2 and a teamer. I mean, whatever. 2 and a green, blue, red.
Everybody knew what you're talking about.
Yes.
That's fine.
2 Temers.
Yeah.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay Izzet. Yeah. Oh, Grandpa, did that hurt you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It also has, whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay Kinnan.
Simic?
Did I stutter?
Okay. Wow.
If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So this guy across the board is just like the clone, the copy commander. And then I saw Glarb, which is very good. And every time I break out the deck, everyone's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" Because it's Glarb.
Yeah.
Glarb is a very generically good card.
Well, we've talked in the past about how your commander can really only be one of three things, and that is, it can be card draw, it can be mana acceleration, or it can be a win condition. And Glarb is card draw and mana acceleration. So Glarb is very good, but there's a sort of secret part of Glarb that is particularly good in this deck.
Yes. Thank you for the setup. I think the thing that actually sold me completely on Glarb is that the fact that you can cast spells of 4 mana cost or higher, or mana value, I don't know the difference, on the top of the deck means that almost every single clone at baseline is 4 mana or higher. So it not only means that I can play lands from the top, but I can pretty much cast most of my clones from the top of my deck directly onto the battlefield.
Which is good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's quite a few clones that also interact with the graveyard. So either can be cast from the graveyard or will interact with other cards or creatures in the graveyard. So it is possible that I can surveil, and instead of casting something, I can end up getting rid of the creature directly into my graveyard. So I have a couple of like big hitters. I initially did have Hullbreak Horror and got rid of that because that with clones caused all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
Also, it's a bit rough.
You know, people are going to argue with Hullbreaker Horror probably.
Yes. So
it's
instead,
a little too good for those casual tables, I think.
Okay, so I do have 2 big hitter creatures that are like, if I happen to get rid of these with Glarb's effect or remove these or something, then I have a nice clone in my graveyard. But most of the time I end up copying or cloning stuff from other people's graveyards. I have Colossal Grave Reaver. Colossal Grave Reaver is 6, a black and a green. It's a flying...
And a Golgari? 6 and a Golgari?
6 and a Golgari. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, mill 3 cards. So it'll come in, it'll get more in there. And then whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put one of them onto the battlefield.
Oh.
So with Glarb's Surveil and his own enter, and I can clone him once he's on the field and get more enter and attack triggers and stuff. At that point, he's like a game ender. I'm just like bringing him out, making a clone army of whatever the highest thing is on the field and going and swinging for game. The other is Nezahal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
And so...
That's casual.
Look. Yeah.
It's fine. Just draws you cards.
Just draws me cards.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. What are some other specific decisions you made for the deck?
Right. So the primary thing is basically, I wanted to be very clear. I am playing a ton of clones. I am relying solely on the other cards that my opponents are playing. So I play 27 clones.
Nezahal.
Well.
That other guy. That kind of
look. Okay, 2 cards. 2 cards.
Okay. All right.
Look, you want me to get rid of them? this the argument? So I play 27 clones. It's a, fourth of the deck, basically, of clones.
That's a theme right there.
That is a theme.
That defines it.
And I play a lot of flickers. So I don't really play any sort of direct targeted interaction to my opponents. I think maybe I have one counterspell, if that. And everything I have outside of clones is stuff to help flicker and bounce clones so that as my opponents are playing better costed cards, higher value cards, I can then sort of reintegrate my clones and copy the better ones.
Level up your clones along with your opponents,
Yes.
leveling up their stuff.
So on top of that, I also have some like flicker card advantage things. So I have like Dowerport Mage. Whenever one or more other creatures you control leave the battlefield without dying, draw a card. And then it also has its own sort of bounce effect as well. So.
Right. So a few flicker synergy pieces.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Just to help, help grease the wheels a little bit on that.
Yeah. Just get a little of that butter on there.
Yeah, I put a lot of butter on it. And then on top of that, I do throw in, I have like Brawn, I have Wonder. So not only am I getting clones, but, and I have a outlet to be able to discard them with Glarb. But I end up making my clones have either trample or flying.
So yours are better even than your opponent's creatures.
Yes.
So I get your creatures and I make them better.
Right.
Perfect.
So we recently did a video talking about our 3 principles of how we design casual decks. I definitely would categorize this deck as existing within casuals. Then again, that's a really broad window. So who knows?
So our 3 principles for building a casual deck are: we like to pick a role for the deck, kind of a theme that we're going to build around. We like to choose specifically good cards over generically good cards, and we like to build in a fatal flaw to make sure that our opponents have opportunity to counterplay whatever it is we're doing. So let's talk about what is the role, I guess, that this deck fulfills at the table.
So I think that this is kind of somewhat unique because my role is technically not set when I sit at the table.
Oh, fair.
I don't have a proactive. I don't have a reactive.
You're a doppelganger role.
I am a doppelganger role,
Yeah.
yes. If someone else is going really fast, I don't necessarily get the exact same resource advantage as they do all the time, depending on how they gain it. But if it's creatures, then I do, right? So if someone else is an archenemy, I can potentially also end up being a big threat.
And this makes sense, right? Like the sort of entire goal of this deck, and you might even say this theme overrides the sort of role at the table, is that this deck is designed to be playable at a multitude of tables and make it so that you don't really you take a bit of the guesswork out of the rule zero, right? Because you're gonna blend in with what everybody else is doing effectively.
Yes. And I think that I've played this deck at a table full of precons, and what's funny is that because the precons are going at a certain particular pace and only have certain sort of quality cards in them, it lowered the efficiency of my deck.
One of the things I think that's most interesting about it, right, is that we've sort of said that trying to figure out what the power level is in Commander that you're playing at is trying to find a ceiling in a dark room, right? Well, this sets the ceiling at whatever the ceiling is, period, right?
It's not,
you don't have to try to find it. It comes to you.
Right. It's not searching for a ceiling. It's accepting that this is the ceiling of this particular game. So far, when playing it, has not really caused a lot of arguments. It can still be scary at times, but it also does not feel quite as bad as stealing. Right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I did consider making like a stealing deck.
So this might be an example of choosing the sort of specifically good cards here instead of choosing generically the best cards, right? Stealing might be generically best,
right?
But you're specifically choosing cloning.
Right. We've talked about on the channel before that, a theft card, some like blatant thievery or something, I think maybe is one.
Gilded Drake.
Oh, sure, Gilded Drake,
which is not in the deck.
Not in the deck
anymore.
So something like Gilded Drake, is a card that generally it's just going to take someone else's card and it replaces it with Gilded Drake. And that technically, looking at the systems of Commander, is the most beneficial version of this mechanic. We've talked about how one of the biggest issues with Commander is that when you are spending mana to go and remove someone's specific thing, single target removal, that is technically not a great value assessment, right? Because you are spending mana to remove one opponent's things, and there's still 2 other opponents that you have to deal with.
And they didn't do anything.
And they didn't do anything.
Exchange. Yeah.
So what actually is more beneficial for you is that if you spend any sort of mana to remove a particular target, you should also be gaining some value in return. And so
this is what we call value positive removal.
Right. And so something like Gilded Drake is very much value positive.
Yeah, something like Steel Enchantment, Gilded Drake, like, yeah, things that are like like taking control of somebody else's thing and removing it from them and giving it to you is a much better value than just removing the thing. Most of the spells that do these kind of things are particularly expensive. So there's a few that are less expensive, Gilded Drake, Steel Enchantment. Those are the ones that tend to see play at the highest levels of the format. But in this instance, you've chosen to go the route of clones instead.
Generally, at a casual table, when you steal someone's things, they don't really like you that much. And so this is sort of a little bit of that implicit, like, cultural decision making of saying, okay, well, if I just clone everybody's things, right, I'm not taking it, I'm not stopping them from being able to do that thing. And like we said, it's setting that sort of ceiling. They're setting the cap. I'm just following in turn.
Okay, so let's talk about your fatal flaw. What's the fatal flaw of the deck for your opponents to exploit?
If someone's going more of like a wide strategy where they have a lot of tokens, generating a lot of smaller creatures, like there isn't really much value that I can get out of spending my 4 mana to copy even like kind of a higher value token or something is still generally not what I'm looking for. And it's also just high synergy decks, right? So if there's a deck that ends up having, it's very reliant on other pieces within that deck in order to have all of it function, it means that suddenly is a target that I really can't even bother considering cloning unless I can confidently clone a lot of that particular player's other cards. And the other thing that usually ends up happening is that most of the time as I'm cloning, I'm trying to clone the person that seems to be ahead, right? Because they have the most value on board that I can directly see. But that is also usually the threat. And so if other players end up going and attacking them and removing their things, suddenly I don't have the opportunity to clone the other pieces of their stuff that would have been beneficial to me. And now I have to clone someone else's stuff that might not synergize quite as well.
It's almost like you were trying to assume their form, and halfway through somebody interrupted it and said you're half of this person and half of that person. You're like, well,
and sometimes it works out.
I'm some kind of an abomination now, I guess.
Sometimes it works out, but like I said, it usually works best when there's generic high quality cards on the table.
All right, so what are some takeaways here? What can players learn from this? What can game designers learn from this?
It does work as intended, and it's not like incredibly strong. Again, it's like it's only as strong as someone else is strong. And if that person is already strong, then that's the ceiling that's been set generally at the table. It was an interesting hypothesis of like, if we took this concept that's being utilized in CEDH and we bring it to a lower power table, it's still like a viable strategy. This, as well as Bumblefogger, have been really good examples of, how to create decks that seem like generally fair, that I still feel like I'm having a good time. I feel like, to me, the problem that I'm trying to solve is sort of my own self-imposed problem that I've accepted with how the deck has been designed. And again, it's like not being, it's not going too far, right? It's not like getting a lot of value and getting so much that people are like, well, that deck is way too strong. You can't bring that to the table. It's just whatever everyone else is bringing, this is a comfortable deck that I can slot into and know, okay, it doesn't matter the brackets. Like, if you guys are playing this, I can play this, and I'll probably be about as strong as you guys are. And like I said, I've done this at a pre-con table, and I think I lost the game generally. Like, I did good. I was definitely a threat at times, but it's still, it can't, it can only get so high in power level. It's interesting to consider that the only reason that clones are even a possibility in this format is because the length of time that cards have been coming out, the amount of clones that have over time been printed. I have 27 in this deck. There's definitely more than 27 clones that have been printed in total. And so this was never really, I think, an intended strategy in more of a constructed format. I would assume. Yeah,
not really. There was a few decks that would play clones offhand, like Phantasmal Image was one that saw some play, but usually they're more like synergy pieces, right? Like Phantasmal Image with Sun Titan was particularly good because it would come into play reanimating your Phantasmal Image, making it another copy of Sun Titan, then getting another thing back, and you could like chain that all together. This was like the old Solar Flare control decks from Standard, which were super cool. One of my favorite decks ever made. So yeah, I mean, I do think that commander systems in particular highlight kind of the weirdness of this scenario, which is that like when everybody is limited to one copy of each card, we've talked about this before, where quality cards are quite a bit better than quantity cards, because quantity cards can't really function in the format very well. So everybody is playing particularly high quality individually high quality cards, and clones, because of that, can it's almost a quantity deck of clones that you're copying everybody's quality stuff, and sort of ending up as almost in a mass of the best quality stuff at the table, which is weird. It's a weird play pattern. It's interesting that it exists, but I think if I was, I think that it's more indicative of Commander's systems pushing players in particular directions that then are exploitable by this idea.
We've used the example before, I think when talking about Jeweled Lotus and Dockside and Mana Crypt prior to the bans, is that like they're like the Smash Bros. Hammer, right? And this deck is essentially saying, like, hey, the new Smash Bros. Hammers in the format are like Soul Ring and whatever. Like, they always existed. Yeah. Like, whoever gets a Fel War Stone and a Soul Ring.
This play pattern was in CEDH, right? Like, people were playing Phantasmal Image to clone Dockside. So it's that's a microcosm of sort of what you've put together.
Right. And now it's like whether or not you get rid of those really good hammers, of Dockside and Mana Crypt, there's always going to be another one based off of the singleton format, and how many cards have been in release so far. And so this deck is just going to say, hey, whatever you end up getting, I'm gonna get that too. You know what? This is what's if they go archetypes, this deck's fucked. If they do like a Mox, like Mox Jasper.
Oh yeah.
Should I copy Mox Jasper?
You have to copy a dragon.
I have to copy a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoops.
Oops.
That's probably good though.
Probably. If you enjoyed listening to us talk about clones and Commander Magic, please feel free to give us a little like and a subscribe, maybe a comment down below.
Also, if you want to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye. Hexproof, though. Fuck that. Who cares?
What do you mean?
You don't have to target. Your thing just comes in as the hexproof thing.
Enters the battlefield as a target.
Mm-mm.
What are you talking about?